Hello, New York. I can't believe you guys came out in this shitty weather. I was in my hotel and I was like, no. But then I thought I can talk to you about Beyonce. So, thank you all for coming out tonight. And so I'm just going to say a few words about, well, you'll find out. What I want right now is a wooden baseball bat. Thank you. What I want is to feel the heft of that bat in my hand as I wrap the palm around the smooth lacquer handle. What I want is to stroll down the street swinging that bat ominously to a catchy beat. What I want is to use that bat to start breaking shit. Windows mostly, because breaking glass with a wooden bat seems satisfying, cathartic even, watching that glass shatter and reflect light as it falls to the ground. What I also want right now is to acknowledge this new temporal reality that we are in, AL, after Lemonade. Beyonce's latest album, I want us to all understand that the game has changed. Lemonade is a work of art, and it is a shining example of how amazing pop music can be. Lemonade is also explicitly a Black woman's story in her own words. From the first song through the last, Beyonce talks about her marriage, the betrayal she has experienced at her husband's hands, her rage, the depths and ragged edges of her hurt, the strength she has found in other Black women, how she found her way to a place where she could forgive her husband because her love for him and their bond was that strong. I mean, she's Beyonce, our queen, and she admits that she was cheated on, as fine as she is. She offers us humility. She dares to challenge the dominant cultural narrative about what a woman must do if she is the victim of infidelity. Each time I listen to this album, I am stunned by the exquisite vulnerability that she displays. There's a moment during the song Sandcastles where her voice breaks as she sings about scratching out an unnamed yours face, and each time I hear that break and the grief pouring from Beyonce's vocal cords, I want to punch Jay-Z directly in the face. That is the power of good storytelling in song, in fiction, in essays, and memoir. We react, we feel. This album is also remarkable because it is deeply personal, but the themes that Beyonce touches upon also invite us to feel seen and understood. In Lemonade, Beyonce is saying, here is my truth, here is my life, my love, here is my Blackness, here is my history, here are the women I share this world with and the women who begat me and the women who will live beyond me. She says, here is my heart, what's left of it. She says, show me your heart too. Now, generally, when we discuss the freedom to write, we're discussing freedom in the context of writers throughout the world who are in perilous positions of risking their lives to write what they believe to be necessary and true. As important as those discussions are, today I want to talk to you about the freedom to write the personal, the freedom to expose yourself and make yourself vulnerable. For the past year, I have been writing about my body for my forthcoming memoir, Hunger. I am writing the book I never thought I would or could write, a book I don't really want to write, but that I absolutely need to write. When I think of how I expose myself in this book, I feel an equal mix of dread and terror. Then I get frustrated because I am bringing this onto myself by choosing to write this book. I am choosing to peel back my skin to reveal the bloody truth of me. I've been dragging my heels on turning the book into my publisher because of what this book says about me, because I cannot control how people will respond or how they will see me, but by the power of Beyonce, I will overcome my fear. And try to get this damn thing done. While I think of myself as a fiction writer first, I am probably more well known for my essays in which I try to talk about this world that we live in while also drawing from my own life. I am always trying to justify writing from my own life because really, who am I? I am, despite what you might assume, a very private person. I make careful choices about what I share about myself. As I finish Hunger, I've been thinking about how I really have no choices when it comes to writing about my body. I am a private person, but I have a very public body. I take up a lot of space because I am both tall and fat. People see my body and think they know things about me. They make assumptions. They share their unsolicited opinions on the state of my body, what I should do with my body, what I should or should not put into my body. By living and breathing in this world, I am a public text. This is the reality of living in my body. I am trapped in a cage. The frustrating thing about cages is that you're trapped, but you can see exactly what you want. You can reach out, but only so far. It would be easy to pretend I am just fine with my body as it is. I am a feminist, after all, and I believe in doing away with rigid beauty standards that force women to conform to unrealistic ideals. I believe that we should have broader definitions of beauty that include diverse body types. I believe my self-worth does not reside solely in my appearance, and then I leave my apartment and I have to face the world, and any empathy I've managed to accumulate for myself is ripped out of my heart. Feeling comfortable in my body isn't about beauty standards. It is not about ideals. It is about how I feel in my skin and bones from one day to the next. It's about the inordinate amount of bullshit I deal with from friends, family, and strangers alike. I am not comfortable. Nearly everything is difficult. When I move around, I feel every extra pound I am carrying. When I walk for long periods of time, my thighs ache and my calves ache, my feet ache, my lower back aches. When it's hot, I sweat profusely, mostly from my head, and then I feel self-conscious and find myself constantly wiping sweat from my face, and then I feel like people are staring at me sweating and judging me for having an excess of body that dares to perspire so wantonly. My fat body often empowers people to erase my gender. I am a woman, but they do not see me as a woman. I am often mistaken for a man, and it bothers me, because I am large, but I am a woman. We have such narrow ideas about femininity. When you are tall and wide, you are all too often presented as not woman. Race also plays a part in this. Black women were never allowed our femininity. We are not allowed to be at peace in our black bodies. So, my black body is a cage. My body is a cage of my own making and a cage that this society has reinforced, and I am still trying to find my way out of it. I have been trying to find that way out for almost 30 years. Maybe I should tell you that my body has a story and a history. When I was 12 years old, I was raped. In truth, I don't know how to talk about rape or sexual violence when it comes to my own story. It's easier to say something terrible happened. It's easier to use detached clinical language like assault or violation or incident than it is to come out and say, I was 12 years old and I was gang raped by a boy I thought I loved and a group of his friends. At 41 years old, I tell myself what happened is in the past. Of course, this is only partly true. The past is still with me. The past is written on my body. The past sometimes feels like it might kill me. There is a before and an after to my life. In the after, I was broken and shattered and silent. I was numb. I was terrified. I carried this secret, and I knew in my soul that what those boys did to me had to stay secret. I couldn't share the shame and humiliation of it. I was disgusting because I had allowed disgusting things to be done. I was not a girl. I was less than human. I was no longer a good Catholic, and I was going to hell. I couldn't let my parents see who or what I had become, because then they would be disgusted too, and they would discard me like the trash I knew myself to be, and then I would not only be nothing, I would have no one. In the after, I was hollowed out, and I was determined to fill that void. I ate and I ate and I ate in the hopes that if I made myself big, my body would be safe. I buried the girl I had been because she ran into all kinds of trouble. I tried to erase every memory of her, but she's still there somewhere. She is still small and scared and ashamed, and perhaps by writing Hunger, I am writing my way back to her to tell her everything that she has needed to hear for the past 29 years. My body is wildly undisciplined, and I deny myself nearly everything I desire. I deny myself the right to space when I am in public, trying to fold in on myself to make my body invisible, even though it is, in fact, grandly visible. I deny myself the right to a shared armrest because how dare I impose? I deny myself entry into certain spaces that I have deemed inappropriate for a body like mine, mostly spaces inhabited by other people. I deny myself bright colors in my clothing choices, sticking to a uniform of denim and dark shirts, even though I have a far more diverse wardrobe. I deny myself certain trappings of femininity as if I do not have the right to such expression when my body does not follow society's dictates for what a woman's body should look like. When I first started doing speaking engagements, before there were so many pictures of me online, I would show up to an event and organizers would often look right through me. At one event, a gathering of librarians, a man asked if he could help me, and I said, well, I'm the keynote speaker. His eyes widened and his face reddened, and he stammered, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm the man you're looking for. He was neither the first person, nor will he be the last to have such a reaction. People don't expect the writer who will be speaking at their event to look like me. They don't know how to hide their shock when they realize that a reasonably successful writer is this overweight. These reactions hurt for so many reasons. They illustrate how little people think of fat people, how they assume we are neither smart nor capable if we have such unruly bodies. These people put me in the position of having to say, yes, I am Roxane Gay. I am so sorry to disappoint you. The way I talk about my body sometimes makes people uncomfortable. They say I'm fat-phobic and full of self-loathing. I am neither of these things, but I do live in a world where the open hatred of fat people is vigorously tolerated and encouraged. I am a product of my environment. Oftentimes, the people who I make uncomfortable by admitting that I don't love being fat are what I like to call Lane Bryant fat. My ladies know what's up. They can still buy clothes at stores like Lane Bryant that offers sizes up to 26, 28. They know some of the challenges of being fat, but they don't really know the challenges of being very fat, or as doctors love to call it, super morbidly obese. To be clear, the fat acceptance movement is important, affirming, and profoundly necessary. But I also believe that part of fat acceptance is accepting that some of us struggle with body image and haven't yet reached a place of peace and self-acceptance. The thing is, I do not hate myself, even though the world thinks I should. I don't think I'm ugly or unlovable. All things considered, I have a reasonable amount of self-esteem. When I'm around the right people, I feel strong and powerful and sometimes even sexy. Here's what I hate. I hate how people treat and perceive me. I hate how I am extraordinarily visible but invisible. I hate not fitting in so many places where I want to be. I hate how the larger my body grew, the smaller my world became. In writing about my body and telling you about my body today, I am sharing my truth. I understand if that truth is not something you want to hear, the truth makes me uncomfortable too. But I am also saying, here is my heart, what's left of it. Here I am, finally freeing myself to be vulnerable and terribly human. Here I am, reveling in that freedom. Look at what it has allowed me to create. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
What's
Thank
up?
you.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi. This is really exciting. So my queen Roxane and I are going to talk for a little bit, and then we're going to open up to Q&A. There are two microphones here and here. All I will say, so that Roxane doesn't have to say it, is when you step up to the mic, you need to ask a question. No speeches. I don't want to hear how she made you feel. We all know how she made you feel because we feel too.
Why are you so mean?
I'm just,
You're the worst.
you know, because if you get up there and you don't ask a question, you know, this is the Lemonade era. Anything is liable to happen.
But do you have hot sauce in your bag?
You know, I'll find some.
All right.
I'll find some. So I wanted to say thank you because your work is about freedom, and it is an offering that frees other people, but it does come at a cost.
Yes.
It does come at tremendous work, and I was wondering in moving from an untamed state to bad feminist, and you go like, how could you make any more of an offering to readers? Now to hunger, which you've just spoken so beautifully about. Have you worked to kind of deal with negotiating the vulnerability and how you're making this offering?
I mean, every time I write something, I just tell myself, okay, no one's going to read this. For a long time, that delusion was perfect. Increasingly, I can no longer lie to myself like that, but I do try to lie to myself and just say, I'm doing this for me. I just try to have boundaries about what I will and will not write about, but I also allow myself to have responses. For example, when my work is criticized. I allow myself to just be like, that bitch is wrong. And to then separate the valid criticism from feeling like I'm being criticized as a human being. Because when you put yourself out there, you are inevitably going to be criticized, not only for how you express yourself, but for how you exist. And so I just work very hard on separating the two.
Do you ever feel like a bit of an avatar, as if Roxane Gay, you know, whose name is on the book, and then Roxane Gay, you know, standing in front of this librarian, like you mentioned in your speech, or people who come and just like, do you feel like it's actually a bit of a separation?
It's becoming more and more of a separation because, you know, one of the things I wrote about in Bad Feminist was don't put me on a pedestal. I was crystal clear about that.
You literally said it like on the first page.
Correct. And some people ignored that. And so I just am constantly trying to work against the sort of the way the media represents my work and tries to position my work by trying, you know, I try to stay true to who I am and just say what they're representing and how they're representing my work is not necessarily my work, which you have to read before you can critique. That's a subtweet happening in real time.
The essay goes up and 30 seconds later, someone's already like, on a Twitter rant about you because of the head? Okay.
Well, I read a review of Hunger
Stop.
that I haven't turned in. And so,
How?
I mean,
What are people doing?
they critiqued one paragraph from the publisher's marketing copy and extrapolated some interesting thoughts about the book as a whole. I just had to get that off my chest.
Let it go.
Whew,
Let
free.
it go.
And so I just try to like make sure that people can remember, like, I'm not in control of the narrative that happens once the work is out into the world. You have to take what I say at face value because that's what I'm saying. You can't put your own narrative, I mean, you can put your own narrative on that, but then you can't ascribe it back to me. And so I am struggling a little bit with like, I don't want to be put on the pedestal, which is not to say I don't mind being someone people can look up to. I very much respect that. It's uncomfortable and weird because I'm me. And like, I spend a lot of time watching HGTV, so I just think, like...
Is Design on a Dime still on?
No, but Tiny House Hunters is really good.
Maybe the gay that I am today.
There's a lot happening on HGTV now. The Property Brothers, who I thought were lovers, but... well, you never know, but they're twins. And so I just think, why are you looking up to me? Like, I invest my emotional energy. I tweet about HGTV so much that someone from HGTV emailed me. I was just like, oh, now I'm living the dream. But so I try to balance, I try to like not be put on the pedestal, but also acknowledge and respect the people who see something in my work. I don't want to disavow them or disrespect them because I value that. Yeah.
It's
So.
beautiful. You know, we're going to be invoking Lemonade throughout, so
I
just
mean, all
get
night long.
used to it.
Which was also a
Get
reference.
used to it. If Donald Trump is in the audience, prepare yourself. No, but you know, something I was thinking about Lemonade, the way she willingly puts herself in a context of generations.
Yes.
Both, you know, invoking Jay-Z's mother, grandmother, who that's like the title's coming from, and then the images of seeing her around peers, Serena Williams, and also younger models and actresses who are coming up after her. Do you see yourself in a lineage of writers who have regarded their body as a text, like you've said?
Oh, absolutely. I look to especially Toni Morrison and the way she has written the Black woman's body. And I definitely try to honor sort of the work that she has done in my own work. I think that as a woman and as a writer and as a Black writer and a Black woman writer and a queer writer, I very much work in a tradition of looking at the writers who have come before me and who have done this kind of work and recognizing that it is my responsibility to carry that work forward and also to mentor younger writers so that they too can carry the work forward. One of the challenges when you are an underrepresented person is that certain gatekeepers believe that there can be only one. There's a Highlander mentality. And you have to actively work against that by acknowledging both the past and the future. And actually, that's what I really respected, among other things, in Lemonade. That she, especially when she brought her peers into the videos, and you'll notice that all of the young women that she brought into the videos are women who have been publicly shamed for their bodies. And people say, well, you know, let's not cry for them because they're rich, famous, and or beautiful, but money doesn't buy you freedom from pain and from ridicule and from being disrespected, and money has never bought a Black person freedom from being a target. Oof. So I think that it's just important that when you achieve a certain level of success, you recognize where that success comes from, and it's not just your hard work.
Yeah. I also noticed too with writers or artists I admire, I pay special attention to artists who in interviews never find an occasion to speak about other artists they admire. Not naming names, but it's something to pay attention to.
It is. It
It's
is.
very informative.
If your creative world is only you, then you're not very creative. And so I think and also for me, I learn a lot from my peers. Like, first of all, I'm reading because I'm like, what's the competition up to? I mean, I'm petty, it's fine. Like,
Hot sauce.
she got another piece in the New Yorker, seriously? But also, you want to be part of the conversation, and if you're not aware of the conversation, you can't contribute to it. And so I do always try to give some shine to other people who are writing in this time, because, I mean, what a time to be alive.
What a time. Amen, amen. But also, you know, I mean, and we can just go there. I mean, I think when, you know, acclaimed straight white male authors offer their new offering to the canon, you know, they are praised as being, you know, they're doing work that is the everyman. Civilization rests upon their shoulders. And, you know, and I'm saying this as a man, I think when a woman, I'll say with a woman, not even like a woman, but like a woman, period, does any kind of like real serious offering, the best compliment I think the gatekeepers often will give is saying, oh, she's finally following in the footsteps of these straight white men who we look to.
Yeah, we're always seen as following and not leading.
Right.
And also when we do the things that they do, like we're like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when white men write about themselves, people are like, oh, that's groundbreaking. Like Nausgard, who I pronounced his name wrong. I mean, it's fine. If you want to read his books, do you. There's nothing wrong with them. But sort of that obsessive chronicling of one's own life, when a woman does it, it's self-indulgent and diaristic. But when he does it, it's literary genius. And you know, we have to continue pointing out that the rules are different, and we have to do something about that. And I think women are in a very frustrating position where when we write from our lives, the only thing we're allowed to be expert on is our own lives. We're not allowed to decide, I want to learn about rocket science and write about that. If you pitch something like that, people are like, so do you want to write about rocket science and menstruation? And so even when we try to play by the rules, we're still backed into these very problematic corners.
Well, so one thing that's interesting, I think people are, and I say this as an editor too, very eager to say that we are in a transformative moment in media, in publishing, in these literary communities, and that can be about diversity, that can be about equity. We certainly are in a moment of a lot of conversation about diversity and equity. I'm interested because you're kind of, and you've been working and mentoring and teaching for a very long time, but the moment in which you kind of entered this national stage parallels this, whatever we're gonna call this. Do you think things have changed in a way that will matter 5 years from now?
Not yet. We haven't changed. I think we're just talking about it. But it's so ridiculous. I mean, not a week goes by when I don't read a piece about the problem of diversity in publishing. Like, how many goddamn pieces are we gonna write? I mean, and they're all very good. To be fair to the writers, it's not the writers that I'm challenging here because, I mean, we all have to get that check. It's why do we keep talking about the problem when we know the problem is there? At this point in time, it's like publishers have to step up and do something and stop waiting for us to point the finger at them and say, get your shit together. It's very frustrating. Oftentimes a Black woman will write me and say, my agent tried to send my essay collection out on a submission, and they were told by publishers, we already have a Roxane Gay. And so as long as I keep hearing that story, that a Black woman can't sell her essay collection because an essay collection by a Black woman already exists, no, the problem is nowhere near being solved. Because again, people think that there's not enough room in the market for more than one Black woman to write her story, or more than one queer woman, or more than one gay man. And it's just hugely infuriating. And meanwhile, we still get these ridiculous books that are just so bad, and I read so many of them. And I just think, you mean we need one more thriller about a woman in Europe? Really? We don't have too many of those? But we have to continue to hold publishing's feet to the fire. And it's difficult. And what's also frustrating is that all of the people that I know who work in publishing are great. And so I just don't know where the disconnect is.
I mean, I feel like, I think about Hollywood a lot, right? Which seems, because there's so much more money, it's like even more intractable. Perhaps maybe sports would be like the only thing more difficult to change. But even in Hollywood, it seems like people are smart enough to go, oh, it doesn't make sense to walk up to any actor, even an A-list actor, and say, how are we going to solve the gender pay gap in Hollywood? How are we going to solve the lack of representation? They at least know to go to directors or producers or these major executives. In publishing, people are still asking Ashley Ford, Roxane Gay, Daniel Jose Older, and Saeed Jones to be on panels about diversity. At best, all we could do is write a few books, So if you were going to design a better, more effective panel or round table about diversity, what should we do?
I would not organize a panel around diversity.
Yeah.
There's nothing, we don't need to panel this anymore.
Yeah.
It's done.
No more panels,
No, what I want is for publishers for the next year, hire only people of color, period. Just, that's it. And, pay them a living wage, which is a whole other issue. But I think it starts with specific hiring initiatives. Just saying, I know it's against the law, but other than that, you can do targeted hires. And I think publishing needs to start doing targeted hiring. Because there's not a publishing house that I've spent time in where I've seen more than one or two people of color. It's really weird. And I live in Indiana. So to be in New York City and see that kind of whitewashing is always a bit disconcerting. It's like watching Sex in the City. Just strange.
The series or the movies?
The series.
Okay.
Yes, which took place in that magical New York where Friends takes place and other such shows where people of color just don't exist.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so done with the diversity question.
Yeah.
I lost my shit at AWP this year. I was just like, that's it. I am never doing another panel on diversity again. I'm just done talking about race.
Yeah.
I mean, well, no. I'm not done talking about race. I'm more interested now in problem solving and making people feel bad.
Well, you know, I absolutely agree. Now when I receive those invitations, I'm more likely to recommend
Yes.
other writers who I think have a lot to say or don't, you know, get that kind of exposure, or could use the experience of, you know. But I guess I have, maybe this is really paranoid of me. It probably is. But I have this sense sometimes that when you decide to speak up about feminism, or police brutality or diversity, these subject matters that are not just topics, aren't just trends, but get to the core of who we are, whoever we are, that sometimes it seems like people's strategy is actually to try to like keep asking you to talk about it and repeat yourself until you are exhausted into silence. Am I crazy to feel this way?
No, I don't think you're crazy to feel that way. No. No. I don't know the why of that, but I think they think, oh, let's just wear her out. You know how sometimes you have a kid and you want them to go to bed and they won't, so you're like, let's go run around the block 10 times. I think it's that mentality. Like maybe if we tire her out, she'll give up. But no, I'm like a cockroach. It's I'm not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
No.
Please don't.
Not planning on it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to go to my hotel later, but
Fair.
yeah.
Which is, it was very nice, and I saw The Weeknd stroll through the lobby with an army of very handsome, hopefully single young men while I was waiting for Roxane.
We'll have to find out
We
later.
will go find him.
Absolutely.
We will go
like,
find
excuse
him.
me, but we need to find the army of handsome men that was
It was
strolling
like
about.
It was like the revolving door, and they just like whoosh, and I was like, what is happening? And then I saw a guy, and I was like, his hair, and it was like The Weeknd.
And you saw The Weeknd on The Weeknd.
On The Weeknd, look, it's all happening.
It's the
Amen.
circle of life.
And you know I was listening to Lemonade when it happened. It was just like all level. So then I was like, The Weeknd, and then I was like, but he did 6 inch, so you know, I don't know.
6-inch heels. I thought, which for like at least 3 days, I thought was sex and chill. And I just thought, that's
A lot of people
an
have said that.
oxymoron.
Yeah, Emily Nussbaum of The New Yorker actually tweeted that like an hour ago. She was like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought she was saying Beyonce was saying Netflix and
She stole my
chill.
tweet. I
It's
tweeted
like,
about that
oh,
shit in the middle of the
Get
week.
it copyrighted, girl.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm just kidding.
Public domain, no.
She actually just won a Pulitzer.
'Cause
Which
she
is actually,
slays.
I was so happy when
It's
I
really
saw
great.
that
And
because
Hilton Alice was a finalist too.
yes,
Amazing.
for TV criticism to be taken seriously, for pop culture criticism to be taken seriously, I mean, it's actually a watershed moment.
Yes, which let's talk about it because I love, I mean, again, your willingness to be yourself when we see often and often we're told that's not how you're supposed to be if you want to be a successful writer. So you were doing serious literary work and you're also doing it while writing about The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or Outlander. Can you talk about what it's like to be in this space now? Is it a little easier, more fun?
Well, it's a little easier because I get to do more of what I want to do without having to justify it. But all along, I've always been interested in making criticism accessible. When I was in grad school, I just remember reading like Derrida and Lacan and thinking, oh, this is agony. I mean, it was just pure agony. And I also recognized the brilliance of what they were saying, the merit, but I just thought nobody's gonna read this but like me and 50 other people in the country. We need to do something about that. And I'm also interested in pop culture because it's something that touches almost everyone's lives. And again, culture exists on a spectrum. It's not like it exists in a silo on its own. It's a reflection of the greater societal issues that we're constantly dealing with. And so I think that if we can change popular culture, we can trickle up instead of trickling down hasn't worked. But we can just
For us.
Not for us. Yeah, it only works for the chosen few. But maybe when we change the culture, more people look and see oh, okay, there's diversity happening, for example, on television. And so we can be more accepting of diversity in our day-to-day lives. And then politicians can see, oh, my constituents are fine with whatever diversity issue of the day. And, you know, it just keeps moving upward. So, I mean, I think pop culture is in many ways ground zero.
That's great.
And so, yeah.
I love it. And your criticism, I think, has done so much. And this is such a subtle thing, but I think when people feel the need to confess their guilty pleasures, right, whether the TV show or whatever, and I think your criticism, like you willingly embrace it. You know, in a garden, that you can speak with just as much. Yeah, girl, you need to have a moment.
I do.
Okay,
I love
go
Ina.
on.
She's so amazing. I just love her. Her hair is so shiny. And her perfect little bob. And she wears the same shirt every day, but it's a different color. And she gets them custom made. And she won't tell anyone where they're custom made. It's on her website, by the way. The FAQ on her website is amazing. But I like being comfortable admitting what I love. And just, it's okay to be excited about Ina Garten or my husband Channing or... He's so great. Oh, his neck. Arr. Just let me sink my teeth into that.
I think one of the first things you said to me that made me actually scream and put down the phone. Roxane and I usually speak via Twitter direct messages, like we literally just exchanged phone numbers like 5 minutes ago.
It's
and
the
the first thing
DMs.
she said that made me scream so loud I had to set down my phone was like, Channing Tatum, it's the neck. It's just and I was like, oh girl, thank you.
I think a lot about it. It's just I'm here for his neck. But I just decided, you know, the best advice I ever got was I was going on the job market when I finished my PhD, and my friend was like, just be yourself, because you don't want to have to pretend to be the person you were on the interview for the next 20 years. Because, you know, in academia, the job is forever-ish. And so I took that advice to heart as well, because that's when I really started to write criticism seriously. And I just decided I'm going to be myself, because I had also, like, you know, tried to not be myself and had hidden myself from myself and just from everyone. I was always playing a role, you know, the role of good Haitian daughter, the role of good student, of this and that, and it was just exhausting. And, you know, you just get to a point in your life where you're like, oh, I just want to be me. And I think that you can be intelligent, and you can also have these interests that some people would call lowbrow, but I call awesome, and still have something of value to say.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, I embrace that openly.
Absolutely. You found value in so many fields. And so we're about to do a question and answer, but I have one more question for you. I mean, I know you're still working on Hunger, and take your time.
Well,
Take your time. The only person that I'm rushing along is Frank Ocean. Everybody else can take as much time as you need with your art. He needs to hurry the hell up. But, you know, so you're working on the book, but, you know, I'm writing a memoir too now, and it is a transformative, like, intensely educational experience just writing it before you even share it with anyone. Is there something that you've learned in particular while working on Hunger?
Absolutely. I mean, I've learned, how miserable I've been. Just like to put it on the page and just be honest. I think the book forced me to be honest with myself.
Wow.
And just say, Roxane, get it together. It's time to change. And I don't know what that change is going to look like, but I know that I'm ready, that I needed to sort of go into my past and sort of excavate what was there to just make sense of how did I get to this place with this body? I mean, I knew, but I didn't know. I didn't really look at it. And this book has forced me to look at it. And it's the hardest thing I've ever had to write. But I also think it's the best thing I've ever written.
Goodness.
I know.
Girl.
I didn't think I could top my novel, but no.
Here we are.
I actually don't have a lot of, you know, like, oh, this is great when I write, but this book, I think, it's a shortish book, but it's a good book. It says what I need to say, and you know, it's memoir. It's not self-help, and so it's interesting to like turn the lens on yourself that much. Ooh. No, I think this is the only memoir I'm ever going to write. But yeah, it's been extremely interesting and difficult, and I can't wait to be done. I'm almost done.
Okay. Well, we can wait, but we're so excited
Thank you.
for it. If you're excited about this Q&A and Hunger, Okay. Okay. It's the moment of truth, my queens. And straight people of whom I'm sure I'm very fond. Probably. Questions? Questions? We have 2 microphones right here.
Oh, we can see you now.
We can see you. My goodness.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm taking
Y'all got information. Well, amen.
We were talking a lot about like being yourself and embracing yourself for who you are. And as a gay male, I've struggled with that, specifically when I was living in Abu Dhabi, because there weren't really any other like out queer people at my school. And I'm interested in a lot of things that are very stereotypical for a gay guy. Like I want to be a fashion designer, and I don't know, I like Lady Gaga at that point. I don't know how I feel about that choice. But so it's like the issue of the single story, and like I want to embrace myself for the things that I love, but I also don't want people to like when they think of a gay person to only think of these stereotypes. So like I was wondering if you could sort of shed some light on how to like maneuver that.
Well, you can't control what other people think.
Yeah.
So you just have to do you. People are always going to think what they're going to think. There's literally nothing you can do. I mean, you could butch up and like go hunting and watch football all day, and there are people who are still going to have narrow and stereotypical ideas about you. So you're asking the wrong question. The question is, how can you become more comfortable with yourself? Because it's not other people, it's you.
Thank you.
So hi, now with the increasing policing of the body, you're also seeing a policing of the mind. And
Of the
so
what?
when a policing of the mind,
Uh-huh.
and you hear statements like you're being irrational or you're being paranoid when a person of color, and only a person of color, expresses the fear of bodily harm, because like no one questions you if you're a white person walking into Harlem like thinking it's unsafe. What do you think can be done as someone who's made theory accessible through works like Bad Feminists to tear apart this racist rationality that like prevents us from expressing ourselves, or that fear of harm to our bodies, which can't be expressed within this rational framework?
I mean, again, we're not the problem. The problem is the people who want to do harm unto brown and black and other, unruly bodies. They have to see us as human. But there's nothing we can do to further establish our humanity beyond existing. And so the framework, I mean, they're the ones who have to adjust their rational framework. Again, like people of color are always saying, what can we do? Or marginalized people, what can we do? We can't do shit, we're fine. So, yeah.
So, Kim Kardashian posted a nude selfie on her Instagram. Would you say this is body positivity, or does it just promote the fake ideal body that isn't realistic for a number of people?
Oh, I think it's neither. I mean, I think it's a marketing ploy.
What was she wearing, Givenchy or that horrible Balmain collection from last season?
She was wearing nothing.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I mean, Kim Kardashian is one of those people who became famous for doing nothing except being very enterprising and making a sex tape. And I actually like her. I think she's very interesting and intelligent, and I think also Kris Jenner is really the mastermind behind all of this. But of all the Kardashians, Kim has really become attached to Kardashianism. I don't know if she's promoting body positivity. She'd have to tell you that. I think she's promoting herself. She loves promoting herself. Like on the night that Lemonade was airing and released, she released all these like provocative images. It was really just tragic. Because it was like, oh girl, it's not your night. It's not your night, it's not your month.
do you think there's like a respectful waiting period before people can act up?
Honestly, I don't know why anyone left their house.
Like Drake, my dude. What
Oh
are you
my
doing?
Lord. When I saw Drake, I haven't even listened to that album yet. Like, here's my view on Views. Too soon. was too soon. But yeah, no, I think Kim loves her body, and I think she does promote body positivity, but I don't think she does it because she cares about body positivity. I think she does it because she cares about making more money for the Kim Kardashian brand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice t-shirt.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
So I am in the very early stages of my writing career, and I kind of feel like crazy. I feel delusional, and I'm obsessed with origin stories right now. So I want to know, is there anything absurd that you did early in your career? Anybody who helped you to get where you are right now? Anybody, if you could say a name or something like that.
Yeah, I can give you a name, Roxane Gay. I think that along the way as a writer, you have people that help you, but I wrote. I mean, the only thing you can do to help yourself, is to write and put words on a page and be fucking relentless in sending that work out into the world. And so I was rejected for years and years and years, and I was like, oh, it's the system. But I also was still writing and just becoming better as a writer and better as a thinker. I think my main writing mentor, well, the first one was a high school teacher named Rex McGuinn, who saw something in these crazy fucked up stories that I would put in front of him in high school and recognized, oh, she needs therapy, so he took me to the counseling center. But he also encouraged me to be a writer, and he told me to write every day. And at the time I was like, oh my God, he just gave me this most sacred piece of writing advice, which I now understand is something every writer shares as advice. And then I have another mentor, her name is Saeed Jones. And she is a beautiful writer, and she's the one who has taught me how to move through the world as a Black woman writer to make sure I'm taking care of other Black women writers. And, but really, the only person you need is you, and then you also need some luck. And you don't be discouraged, don't think you're crazy, you're gonna be fine. You just have to know that when you get rejected, have a little cry about it, because I do. And then you just say, okay, where am I sending this work next?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
These are great questions.
Yes, they are. I see people type them on their phones, have little notes.
Good job, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I mean, no speeches, but I just want to say thank you for giving a Hispanic, Mexican female a voice. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I'm very nervous, but
Oh, it's all good. Relax. You have a great necklace.
thank you. So I really want to ask, can I give you a hug? But I digress. I just want to know, where did you find your strength, to write your first book, to say, oh, I have a voice and it's important and I can put it down on paper?
That's a great question. I think I knew I had something to say, and I had stayed silent for so long that I could stay silent no longer. And I just decided, you know what? This is who you are. And it's easier to be who you are than to be who you have pretended to be. And so I just dug deep. And I write and I wrote because I love it. I didn't think about anything happening with the writing. And so I think I was able to be strong because I was doing it for love of the word and for the peace that writing brings me, that sort of just solace that I get from it. So I just dug deep, and I've also just been very supported all throughout my life. Even my parents are Haitian, and Haitian parents are always like, become a doctor or a lawyer. And my parents were very intense in that way, but they also gave me my first typewriter and always took me to the library and always supported my love of writing and are now my #1 fans. It's super creepy, but also just so charming. And so I would also say, my family has given me the strength just to know that I have them behind me. I'm not alone in what I put out into the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my question is actually about publishing, and I'm new to this conversation, so bear with me, and you may already do what I'm about to talk about. And you were talking about solutions to diversity in publishing. Is one of the solutions, I know that boutique publishing houses are kind of on the rise as the market changes, so people hosting publishing houses out of their homes and things. Mm-hmm. Is that part of the solution? And if so, I mean, would you do that?
No and no.
No.
No, I think that smaller publishing, I run a small press. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's a great way to get books that might not find purchase elsewhere into the world. But that lets big publishing off the hook. That shifts the responsibility. And I think for some people it's a useful route, but if you want your book to sell, I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard. Every week, I'd say probably hundreds of books are released on a weekly basis. And there's a very small amount of space for those books to get attention, and that's among the big five. And so for you to be a marginalized person and then to go to a marginalized subset of the publishing industry and think that's going to create change, I don't know that it is. I think we can point to individual success stories that have used that model to achieve success, but we're still talking about the exceptions. And so I think that it's an alternative and one that needs to become more robust and more respected, but I don't think we should let big publishing off the hook.
Thank you.
Hi. So I guess my question is a little bit more technical and about the bureaucracy of it all. I've encountered personally, it seems as though imposter syndrome and very obvious, blatant gender pay gap 3 times now for my last 3 jobs. And so I guess my question is, how do I get the confidence beyond, I know what the problem is, but the imposter syndrome always seems to just creep up every time I identify it. Mm-hmm. I find the mentorships, but then it drops off, and I don't know, again, so there goes the thought.
I mean, again, you're asking sort of how do I fix the problem, right. But you're not the problem.
But I need the solution, right? So
there's nothing you can do other than believe in yourself. Imposter syndrome, everyone suffers from it, Lord knows I do. And you just have to keep reminding yourself and also surrounding yourself with people who are going to reinforce that, that you are valuable and that what you have to say matters. In terms of the pay gap, it's infuriating. When I found out what one of my colleagues is making, I just hit the roof because I thought I was a great negotiator and I was so proud of myself. And I'm making $10,000 less than someone I out-publish on a daily basis? Seriously? In academia, that matters, not in the real world. And so you can, the thing is that there's unfortunately consequences for us when we try, for example, to advocate for equal pay. It's not that women are sitting around happy to make 78% on average. And of course, the numbers change depending on your race or ethnicity. It's that we know that there are consequences, and a lot of us can't afford to not have a job and can't afford to rock the boat. And so you have to, it's a tough balance of deciding how much you want to rock the boat. How much are you willing to rock the boat? And I'd say before you rock the boat, make sure that you have an anchor of some kind, some savings, and then, go to your boss and say, no, this is not acceptable. But again, you're just in a horrible position and there's no convenient answer I can give you. But this is why feminism matters. And this is why we have to think very carefully about who we're going to elect in the fall. Because when we have the right leaders, and I'm not even talking about the presidency, because on the Democratic side, either candidate is going to make things better, or at least maintain the excellence of what our current president has done. But you need to vote in your local elections, and you need to vote in your state elections, because your Congress people and your senators and your your representatives, I mean, these are the people who are continuing to not pass the Equal Pay Amendment. So even though it's not a convenient or easy answer, it just starts with building yourself a safety net, surrounding yourself with a support network, and voting, and being politically active.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, we'll do them, yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm actually a director. I just directed my first feature last summer, and it took so much out of me, just because it was just a lot of work, and currently editing or whatever, but I'm dealing with post-art depression. And I'm just curious, how do you move forward after that? After friendships have changed, money, nothing is the same, so
Yeah.
I'm just
That's a great question. Post-project depression is real. Saeed.
Real.
So real. And
It's
so
devastating.
I allow myself to be depressed and just wallow. But then I start to think, what would I have been working on if I wasn't doing this thing that consumed my life? And for me, it's often fiction, because nonfiction is really the more demanding of the genres in which I write. And so I just allow myself to do what I want to do, even if I don't even if it's not a project I've sold or it's a project at all. I just allow myself to just do whatever. And I knit. I'm a horrible knitter. I've been knitting the same blanket for about 15 years now. But it's just relaxing to just knit row after row into this sort of never-ending blanket. And so I just do that, and I also try to reconnect with people in my life, because I do tend to go into a cone.
Yeah.
I've actually been on the road for 2 years now, and it's pathetic what it has done to my personal life. Thank God I'm in a long-distance relationship, because that's the only way we've survived it, because I'm never home. And so one of the things I'm looking forward to when I do finally get some time off in 2019 is reconnecting with my life and doing something that has nothing to do with writing. So do something different for a while.
This is a great question.
Thank you.
You're
hi.
welcome. Hi.
This is a bit of a silly question, but I follow you on Twitter, and I see some very angry, insecure people reacting to you. And as a fan, and to bring it back to Beyonce, as someone who feels like they're in the Roxane Gay hive, and as a
What?
Amen.
and a Haitian American, I bow my head and put a hex on each one of them.
That's what's up.
I guess, how do you sort of, I'm always afraid you're going to stop engaging with people when there's so many horrible people.
Yeah.
So how would you like us to express our lemons to these folks?
Moment of truth, Roxane.
I have a gagency.
You have
I just came up with that. That's a really good question. I don't think I'm ever going to stop engaging, but when it does get to be bad, you'll notice that I don't tweet for 3 or 4 days, and that's why, because it's so toxic. And no matter what, I could be like, oh, it's nice out today, and someone will be like, you're going to die tomorrow because you're so fat. It's crazy. Just be cool. Engage with me like a normal person, because I am a normal person. You don't have to engage with these crazy people, because nothing safe or healthy is down that road. And so many of these people online are just fundamentally unwell, and just sitting in their mother's basement covered in Cheeto dust. But I think just be supportive, and well, they are. Be supportive, and even though it sounds cheesy, one of the things that helps is that oftentimes when I'm really being attacked, people will tweet to me, I love your writing. And I know this is so immature and shallow, but those tweets really do pick me up. they remind me that, okay, maybe I'm not the worst writer in the world after these like 17 men just told me that I'm the worst writer in the world. You know, those little people think they don't matter, but they do. I do see them and they do matter. So just be cool and be supportive and just say hi. Nice dress.
Thank you. I did think of you when I was picking this out.
I love it.
I also had a question about Twitter.
Okay.
So if there's one thing I love more than both of your work, it's your Twitter accounts. And I was just wondering, what do you think social media gives you as writers and as people who are engaging with culture, positive or negative, kind of how you both engage with it?
Roxane lives in Middle America, and I joined Twitter right when I was moving up here. I didn't know anyone, and so Twitter gave me a conversation that I could access. New York is frigid and a bit terrifying if you are an emerging writer or just anyone looking to step into the conversation. Twitter struck me as very warm, and Saeed Jones was a mentor of mine, and she was on Twitter, and I joined, and so all of a sudden I'm connecting to writers and readers and artists all over the country and the world, actually. And that's an ongoing conversation. At its best, I think of Twitter as like a dinner party. That's just kind of always going on, you know, in some other room, and if people are rude, you can just kick them right on out of that dinner party. But that's the good stuff. That's the good part.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good part for me, too. I live in the middle of America, and I have for the past 12 years. Actually, I have for most of my life. And I'm also shy and a loner, but on Twitter, I can feel connected to other people, and I can be like this best, like, sassiest version of myself. It is me. A lot of people say, you're exactly the same online as you are in person. I'm like, yeah, because I don't have the energy to fake it. Not that, anyway. Sorry, I'm not mature. So I just like that sense of community and connectedness, and like, I love when an awards show is on and everyone's tweeting their thoughts on like that hideous dress and that horrible speech and, oh, that movie shouldn't have won. And like, we can all watch House Hunters together and just collectively say, what are these people talking about? This kitchen is tiny when you want a house that's 100 square feet. I mean, yeah, your kitchen doesn't exist. But so I love that. The bad part is just you open yourself up to, not criticism. I think criticism is important. And the criticism that I receive, I get upset about it at first. I do. And I rant about it to my friends. I don't like write essays about it. But it's just the demeaning stuff, the cruel stuff. And sometimes my girlfriend is like, you need to stop engaging with the egg. I have a rule now. I'm not allowed, well, she gave it to me, but.
You can't talk to
she's
eggs
the boss
anymore?
of me. I can't talk to eggs anymore. And when I tweet, she's like, stop talking to that egg. And I'm like, God damn it, stop trying to control me.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm thinking like of so many questions that we've heard tonight have been centered in, I feel this way and everyone's telling me I feel delusional, am I crazy, you know, and so I think Twitter, it's such a wonderful way to challenge that because you find yourself connecting in very unexpected and genuine ways with people like, oh, I feel that way too. I noticed that too. I've always thought that, you know, that's exciting. But it's hard because I think I have like 24 Twitter followers that I engage the most, and they're kind of at the forefront of my mind. And then I forget that it's like literally thousands of people.
Yeah. I still think I have like 100 Twitter followers, and sometimes people are like, you have 112,000 followers. Because like my parents, for example, follow me on Twitter. And I know. And I'm always like, guys, stop following me on Twitter. It's private. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
So you're a fucking Jedi, and so are you. Question: as someone who writes memoir and personal essay.
Okay,
and,
slow down.
Sorry. As someone who writes personal essay and memoir and everything that you go through writing it, how do you take care of yourself while you're doing the work?
And this will be our last question.
Yes, this will be our last question. Thank you. You're on point.
I got you.
What up? I'm not really good at self-care. I mean, I know we're all, like, it's all the rage to talk about self-care right now. The truth is I'm still figuring it out. But I definitely make sure that I respect the boundaries that I've set for myself in terms of what I will and will not disclose in my work. With hunger in particular, I am so far past deadline, it's mortifying in ways I can't even explain. But I've allowed myself that time. Like, clearly I'm dragging my heels because I'm not ready. But then our queen offered us lemonade. And I was like, yes, I'm in formation. And so I also am and I'm also, I will say, and this is not it's not true for everyone, I'm finally in a position in my career where I can give myself some of the time that I need to put certain things out into the world. And so I'm just trying to be patient with myself and recognize, like, I've been doing a lot of work and I've had, 2 books out in a year, and then for whatever reason that carried into 2015, and then I have, a book this year, a book next year. I'm just allowing myself to remember publishing and writing are 2 different things, and that I'm a writer first, and then like an author second, and that sometimes I can just step away from it all, and this part I'm not good at yet, but I'm gonna get there. I can go on vacation. So, and just doing what makes me feel good. And also I watch just a lot of cable. That's my happy place. I fucking love cable. I love the range of channels. I love Lifetime. I love Food Network. I think the people running Food Network are so brilliant. They like have a competition show, and then they have a redemption competition show for like the same thing, even though it was the same shitty cooks coming back. I just love it, and it's just this never-ending like cook, like while you're hanging upside down, and there's a shark biting you. Cutthroat Kitchen, which is on tonight, right, is just groundbreaking television. So I just really allow myself, and then I don't feel guilty about it. Like, yes, I'm gonna go watch that Lifetime movie I've seen 17 times. I'm gonna watch it again.
What about you, Saeed?
Everything she says. I try to embrace the time it takes. We all want to finish, and at the moment I sign a contract, I feel terrified and I want to finish the book as soon as possible. But the body knows and the mind knows. And I found that this past summer when I was on leave working on it, also I take off of work when I can to work on it, that when I would try to rush, I couldn't remember. I literally wouldn't be able to remember what came next in the memoir. Or I would misremember, or it would be a fragment, and so starting the next chapter wouldn't make sense. And the moment I gave myself a couple of days, went for a walk, went swimming or something, totally away from the desk, the memory would come back. And it would come back more clearly, and I would be so grateful that I hadn't just plowed ahead. And so, that's important. And I think the one thing is that we're learning, when you take a book out, a lot of wonderful things happen. This is very wonderful. But it's also a very intense and very public experience. And so I appreciate the time I have to feel everything I need to feel on my own, or with my editor, or with my close friends, so that as best I can be, you want to be ready when you're out there. The worst thing that happened would be to like rush through writing a memoir, because when you walk through that door, it's not your book anymore. It belongs to the readers, and this is your life you're talking about. So take your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Let's give one more round of applause to Roxane Gay, our queen.